Hey, good morning. Last night we tried to record the session and things didn't work out. And so I'm going to reteach that lesson really quickly this morning. I want to run over the announcements. So let me just begin really quick, just reminding you that you received a newsletter yesterday. John Couch is doing a great job with that. We're asking you to forward that on to others in your church and making sure that you've received it. There should be a pop-up that comes up. If you've not gotten it and you go to our website, you ought to be able to pop it up, sign up for all the newsletters and all the information that comes across on the email. Then the Communities on Mission, we'll be launching it in September. We hope you've signed up for it. There are 15 different seminars that are free, but for the launch one, you will have to have a buy-in on that. Personally, I'm doing one on this Thursday, joining a group for one called Mindset. So hopefully that will help you out and you can be a part of that. The Great Commission Plan, we're off and running with that, and I'll be working with churches, and the MAC leaders will be working with it. So if you have any questions, please contact myself or one of your MAC leaders, and let us help you out as you get started on that. The district quiz starts here really quickly, and then we're having a new pastor's Zoom meeting on the 9th of September. We invite many of you to join us. You'll be receiving invitations on that, and that's coming up on the 9th. District Revival is the 10th through the 13th. We start out at Ava, then we go to Grace in Springfield, then over to Neodesha on the west side of the district, and then up to the northeast at Camdenton as we finish. And if you're around in those areas, we hope that you will make it a priority to join us for a good time of fresh revival in our own spirits and our own churches. And Chad Seabright will be our guest speaker for all of that. Then on the 16th, we have a board secretary and board treasurers training that will be done by Zoom. And as you are well aware of, with the chaos that we had with the treasurer's reports and the general church, we're hoping that you will have your treasurer join us, and we can get everything smoothed out so we don't have the mess that we had this last month. Then discipleship materials. Many of you have asked me about discipleship materials, and so I just wanted to give this to you. This is one I highly recommend. I'm going to recommend Chick Shaver's materials for your first 8 weeks, but this, I would say to you, is probably one of the best out. It's 10 different books inside of this book, and it starts off, and there are probably 8 chapters for each one. That book is, I think it's $24. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, it is one of the best in the discipleship process. So if you're wanting to start a small group, you're doing a Sunday school class, you're starting a group of new Christians, this is a perfect material to use, and maybe that will help you out. Many of you have asked, and so I thought I would just share that. And then we just want to say thank you to all of you for District Assembly and all the things that took place during that. We're thrilled you were able to come, and for all that God did for us. Let me jump right into the lesson, all right? And so John Maxwell has come out with a new book on communications. It's not his best book, because I consider there's 2 others that I would consider better. It probably is the best book on communication that I've read. He really addresses issues, how to solve the issues, in only the way that John Maxwell can do. And so I want to take that book and work out the lesson tonight or this morning in this situation to see if we can help you out in the process. So I've entitled the lesson, Living a Life of Credibility. And let me begin by talking a little bit about credibility in all of our lives. One of the ways that I have been hurt the most is when my credibility has been questioned. I want to be a person of integrity, and I want to live that way. And so when my integrity or my credibility is questioned, it really, really hurts. And I would assume that you're probably the same way, that there are moments in your life when you question those things, and it causes pain and grief in your own spirits. So I think you identify with that. And with that being said, Maxwell is saying to us that our credibility is crucial when it comes to this, that people can trust us in communication. And so he talks about how can we have that credibility. And so let's talk about 6 different ways that you can have that. Number 1 is to be transparent. To be transparent. Brene Brown, who is Salvation Army Colonel, spoke at the summit 2 or 3 times, now is traveling all over the world speaking, says, authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true self be seen. See, people want to have perfect communicators who live imperfect lives. They want you to do a great job of communicating, but they look into us. I don't know if it's a thing of lowering us down to people's levels, but I think they are looking for people who are imperfect. And whether that's good or bad, I'm not for sure, but you understand what I'm saying there. The second thing is the ability to get over yourself so you can help others get over themselves. Craig Groeschel told a great story here recently at the summit, and in his book he talks a little bit about some of this, but he talked about that his mentor pastor told him, you need to make sure that you live above them. In other words, that they don't see your faults, they don't see your failures, they don't see your mistakes, that you're always perfect in their eyes. And I would say to all of us, when we talk about that, is I kind of grew up with that mentality with our pastors. They were taught not to show their hearts, not to show their mistakes. Their marriages were always perfect. In my home was not perfect growing up. A lot of loud talking and other things that were involved in my home growing up. And so when I looked at the pastoral position and my pastor, Pastor Paul Buchanan, I saw them as perfect. I thought, their homes must be perfect. They must never argue. Everything is always wonderful, because that's the image that they were taught to portray back in those days. We now know that that's maybe not the best, and definitely is not what our 20 and 30-year-olds are looking for. And so it's trying to be transparent in a way that will help them in their journey. So transparency is a gift of truth wrapped in honesty and shared in love. Wrapped in honesty and shared in love. Number 2, be consistent. Your life lived out in action is often more important than your words spoken in insincerity. You know the line, when necessary, use words. I think for all of us, we have a group of people who are looking at our lives, and they're wanting our actions to match our words. And when they don't, I think it not only does it break down for us as individuals, but it hurts and harms the church, the image of the church, responsibility of the church. And so you have to work at being consistent day after day, week after week, and month after month, and year after year. Because we know consistency compounds. So, as you know, I play ball at the Y with some guys when they show. And so here recently, we had they sanded the court, and we weren't able to be on the floor. One of the guys is a basketball coach. He got us into a full-size gym, because at the Y we only play half court because volleyball is on the other side. And so we played full court. And so as I've told you, I have 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and a couple of 40-year-olds. That's pretty much it. Then it's me. And so we were playing full court, and honestly, I was able to pretty much keep up with everybody in a pretty good way. And I think that's because we've played half court, and we've played it at a high intensity. And I'm just using this to say, because I've been playing, and I play a lot, and I play regularly, and when I'm not doing that, I'm walking, or I'm out cutting wood, or I'm exercising, doing whatever. I think consistency compounds, and so it helps you, even when you're doing smaller projects, it will help you on the long term. And so it'll help you on a daily basis, but it will help you spiritually on your lifetime goals. You can build good habits, but if you're going to build them, I would tell you right now, start today. Start today. I don't know if you noticed, I want to brag on Kyle Rogers. Kyle has lost 50 pounds since March. Just unbelievable what they're doing. And part of it is because he's gone to counting calories. And I actually have downloaded the app myself to kind of watch to see calories, if I need to knock that down, and watch what I'm doing, watch how much Dr. Pepper I'm drinking, those kind of things. His wife has lost 100 pounds. That whole thing has occurred because they were at a doctor, and he said, if you're not careful, you're going to be into a sugar diabetic issue, and you're going to have to, it's going to cause you problems. And so instantly they came home, decided, let's get this done. And I brag on Kyle and his wife because they've done such a great job in losing weight. But I'm telling you, they made a decision, and then they started. And so good habits, okay? Good habits, start now with them, all right? Number 3, be a good example. If you're going to teach it, then believe it, then live it. Have you ever heard a speaker and you know they didn't believe what they were saying? Or you know they didn't live what they were saying? Gordon MacDonald, who Ordering Your Private World, some other books he's written, he was traveling back in the days of Promise Keepers when they were doing the stadiums and 70,000 people were filling. And he had a message about the pearl of great price. He spoke it at Mid-America when I was at school. And he was just nationally known. But when I heard him, I was like, something's not right with him. I just feel it. And sure enough, just a few months later, it was announced that he had a moral failure. The good news of that is his wife did not quit on him, and he did not quit on the marriage. And they reconstructed their marriage, and they would say it's better today than it's ever been. But I would say to you that there are times you're in situations when you know the person, what they're saying doesn't match what they're living, or you know that there's something not right in the situation. Your heart just doesn't align with it. My wife, we were in San Diego at a recent meeting, and my wife walked out of the church service that Sunday morning. She said, that guy is not who he says he is. And sure enough, we found out later that he is not who he says he is, and he does not believe what we believe. In fact, he will have lost his credentials here really soon because of decisions he's made in that. I'll tell you to share stories that draw people in and help them to understand more fully the lessons you're trying to talk about. Don't give illustrations that people can't connect with. Give illustrations that connect with people. If you need to bring the age of that story down, then do that. If you need to talk to others to get the stories, to bring the stories in, then do that. But do whatever you have to do to be a good example. Last night there was questions about, well, if you're going to be transparent, this good example, that seems to be counterproductive to each other. Well, I believe that you can be a good example and be transparent. In other words, be honest about where you're at, and don't try to create an image that you're not, or a person that you're not, but let's work hard at that process. Then I would tell you, if you're going to be a good example, you got to be on time and you got to be prepared. As a pastor or someone that's teaching a lesson, I think that sermon needs to be done way ahead of time. I just preached at Fort Scott in a series that they're in Mark, and I worked on that message 3 and 4 weeks ahead of time and pretty much had it down by the time I got there, and enjoyed giving that. I don't know if they enjoyed hearing it, but I enjoyed giving it here this last week. But the message was prepared 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time. And as a pastor, that's what I almost always did. I was always ahead, on those. And then I would finalize it that week, and then I would preach it to myself. And then Saturday nights, I would go over to the church, walk and pray through the building, through the pews, through the chairs, the classrooms, and then I would preach my message. And if the Holy Spirit would redirect me in any way, then I was able to change that message, adapt it that night. And then I would come back early Sunday morning, just go over it, just refreshing in my mind before I got up to stand before the people. So be on time and be prepared. Okay, number 4, be competent. Know your weaknesses and know your strengths. Okay, now I know that I am not, I don't have a calloused heart. In other words, there are situations that I get into, and I need to be a little harder. I need to take a little more gruff, and I get emotionally bound up about it. And pretty soon, I got a tear in my eye, or I'm walking out of the deal, and I'm just it's beyond me because I can't handle it. I have to have some space in that. I know that's a weakness of mine. I know that I need to get better, and I know that in this job I have gotten a little harder on the heart because I've had to. You've got to take tough situations and make decisions on all of those. So I just believe that everybody can get better. Now, that's a weakness because in my journey, I don't know when to stop believing in people. I have a hard time seeing going over the edge. And so I'll commit, I'll help, I'll do all kinds of stuff, and then pretty soon it's too late. But I don't see that because I want to believe in you or the person I'm working with or the church that I'm working with. It's a strength and yet it's a weakness. So when we talk about knowing your strengths, then I know that when you look at that weakness, that strength is, hey, I'll stand with you through the battle until it's over. That's a strength. But it can be a weakness. That makes sense to you? And so knowing your weaknesses, knowing your strengths, playing to them, I think makes a huge difference in being competent in what you're doing. And I would tell you to never confuse the two. Never confuse your strengths and your weaknesses. Know what you can't do. Know what you can do. God has made you a certain way to do certain things. Be strong enough to do those things, but also be wise enough and strong enough to know what you can't do. Because what you can't do is not a weakness in one way, and when you know it, it can become a strength. So play to your strengths, prepare your weaknesses, and know the difference in all of that. And hopefully that will help you on your journey. Number 5, this is the last one. I think I said 6 starting off, but it's 5. Just be trustworthy. Be trustworthy. Leave no room for question in your life. I would say to you, I would be very careful in what you do. Like, for instance, when a lot of you turn in your mileage, be honest with your mileage. Don't exaggerate your mileage. If anything, cut it back on that if you're not for sure. Just be safe. Same way with if you have petty cash. Don't spend petty cash on your personal items unless you're going to reimburse the church when you get back. Or you don't have cash and you're going to reimburse it. But that's a dangerous place. And I would just tell you, please be careful with that. And then in all of your areas, okay, leave no room for question. Take care of get your tax person to do your taxes. Don't handle money at the church. And the list goes on. Leave no room for question in your life. And number 2 is erase all doubts if there are some. If anybody's any question, do your best to erase all doubts. I've had to go back and get CPAs to verify things. And so you get to the spot where you say, if they're saying we're good, we're good. And so in all of your life, be trustworthy. I would tell you to live above reproach. Live above reproach. Well, those 5 things hopefully can help you to live a life of credibility, which will make you a better communicator for your church. It'll make you a better father, a better mother, a better teacher, a better person in all of your life. And so thank you for joining us today. And I trust God's richest blessings on you in these days. So thank you again for joining us, because we know leaders who learn make other leaders better. Have a great day.